Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be my little overview and first impression on the brand new Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson Tiny Marbles palette. As some of you may know, I tried Sydney Grace for the very first time a couple of weeks ago and I posted a video sharing my experience. If you want to check that out, make sure and look it up on my channel. I was so impressed by the quality of the brand that I definitely knew I wanted to pick up this palette and also support the lovely Mel Thompson. I've been subscribed to her for a really long time. Probably since about she had 10,000 subscribers and she would film like in a bedroom with some French doors behind her. That long ago. I really enjoy her channel. I really enjoy her reviews and thoughts on makeup, and so I'm very excited for her with this collaboration. So congrats to her. Before we get into my overview of the palette, I did want to take a minute and thank my first 5 commenters from my last video. Thank you so much for the lab love. I really appreciate you and I love chatting makeup with you in the comment section. For those that have a YouTube channel, they'll be noted by the YouTube logo and linked in the description box down below in case you're looking for some fun new channels to watch. If you're new here, I'm Yori. Thank you for clicking on my video. Hope you're going to enjoy this one. Consider subscribing and joining me for a future one. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. I purchased my palette from the Sydney Grace website. That is where it is exclusively available, and Sydney Grace is a cruelty-free brand. The palette does retail for $52. It's limited edition and right now is available for a pre-sale. I don't know how many times they're planning to restock the palette, but it is at least available for pre-sale if you're interested in picking it up. The price, as I mentioned, is $52, but you can use a discount code from your favorite influencer that is affiliated with Sydney Grace. I personally used Mel's code, so it's PuffinsWife15, and I received 15% off. There is a cap for free shipping, so if you're trying to get over that cap, I highly recommend the Peach Kisses highlighter. Wow, is that beautiful. Also any of the eyeshadows, but if you're picking up this eyeshadow palette, you might want to try something else from their line, and I was super impressed with their highlighters. So if you're looking for something to take you over that cap to get free shipping, the Peach Kisses highlighter is lovely. I was also wearing it in that video where I tried out Sydney Grace for the first time. So back to the palette, it's a 15 shade eyeshadow palette. This is what the outer packaging looks like. You have your ingredients on the back, and on the back it says by Mel Thompson and Sydney Grace. It has an 18-month shelf life. I don't see the amount of product that's listed, but if I can find that on the website, I'll put it on the screen. The palette itself is a very heavy-duty cardboard packaging, and when you lift it up, there is going to be a plastic insert over the shades, which I've already removed, and you do have a very nice full-size mirror there. And these are your shades, which she custom made from the Sydney Grace formula with the exception of the shade Scarab, which is existing to their line, but I believe she did rename it for the purposes of it being in this palette. If you're watching my video, I imagine you must have watched her launch video, and she's also made a couple of video tutorials using the palette since then as well. So I'm sure you're familiar with her reasoning behind the shade names and how she selected all of the colors. If not, then I definitely will link her original launch video down below so that you can see her swatches and her thought process when creating the palette. I have to say that one thing that I noticed is that when I actually received the palette, it's a lot more vibrant than you would have thought from looking at the promotional pictures. From the promotional pictures, it looks a little bit more muted. The colors look a little bit more pastel, and a lot of the pops of color, they are in the pastel family, but they do pack a punch, and the Sydney Grace formula is so pigmented they do show up. You can see I'm wearing the shade Jewel Bee on my lids today, and it's showing up really well on my medium skin tone. I like how the palette gives you kind of a different color story. A lot of people were commenting they weren't sure what Mel was going to do. She's definitely a neutral lover, but she can pull off color absolutely beautifully as well. So I'm glad that she really combined the two. If you consider Jewel Bee, Mantis, and then maybe Flutter Bee, then those are kind of your pops in the palette. The rest are very neutral. When I was using the palette, I was really impressed by the Spider shade and how it really can function to deepen any other matte that's in the palette. It worked really well in that case. The metallics were just as lovely as I remember from using the Sydney Grace formula before. They apply beautifully with a brush. I created this whole eye look with brushes. I didn't use my fingers. I didn't dampen my brush either. And this is the intensity that I got, which is really impressive. So I'm familiar with the Sydney Grace formula now, and what you would expect from them is what you are receiving here. The matte shades are a little bit powdery. I did get a little bit of fallout while I was working, but I do my eyes first, and I have a tendency to not be as careful when I'm doing my eyes first because I can always brush away any fallout that I may get. I like the color story. I love how versatile it is, and I really think that it can be a palette that you can get a lot of different looks out of. You can definitely get those wearable looks and do something a little bit more bold. I chose to do something a little bit more bold today because I have found that from the videos that I've seen, the looks have been a little bit more neutral, a little bit more wearable. So I figured, why not do something more involved? And this is what I came up with, and I really like it. My eyes have sort of like a Cleopatra-esque quality to them today that I'm really enjoying, and I'm really impressed with the palette. Let's go ahead and switch to how I created the eye look so that you can see how the eyeshadows perform. I already primed with my usual. I'm going to take the shade Jewel Bee and I'm going to apply that all over my upper crease area. I'm just going to build it up and diffuse the color outward. I'm applying a rounded shape today. As you can see on the finished eye, I'm doing more of a rounded cut crease. It's not a shape I do very often. I usually do more elongated looks, but I wanted to do something a little bit differently. I also wanted to showcase the palette a little bit differently because I know that a lot of people are doing, you know, more wearable looks, which is totally fine and beautiful. I love them as well. But I just wanted to do something a little bit differently, especially since my video is not one of the first to come out. So I just wanted to showcase the options that you can do with the palette. So you can see how this shade builds up really nicely. I'm taking the shade Spider and I'm going to apply that directly in the crease. Now, because of the way I cut my crease, I actually ended up hiding this shade, but I did do it on the other eye, so for the purpose of making sure that it comes out as similar as possible, as well as showing you as many of the shades on my eyes as possible as well, I do want to go ahead and apply it. So you can see that it applies really intensely, and it's not at all patchy, which, you know, usually super dark shades can sometimes get a little bit patchy. So I really enjoy that about this one. I think that it's really nice since it's a neutral brown. I feel that it can deepen up pretty much any color in the palette. It's really versatile. Now, like I said, I pretty much covered that when I cut the crease, but I did still try to blend it out by applying more of the Jewel Bee shade on top of it, just to make sure that it was blended. So hopefully you can see if you were doing a smoky eye and deepening out the outer V, this would work so beautifully. These are really the only two shades that I used in my crease. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the crease, and I'm going to be using the PLouise Base and one of my favorite MAC brushes for this purpose. Oh, it's a 249. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'll probably fast forward through this part. So as you can see, I've already cut my crease and I'm going to apply the shade Fire Butts to the center of the lid. Hopefully I cut my crease somewhat evenly. Usually when I'm doing cut creases, I will do my left eye first, which is this one, because it's a little bit more droopy, a little bit more crepey than my other eye. But then my other eye is the watery one. So whenever I'm doing videos, usually I'll do the watery eye off camera just in case, you know, things go wrong. And then I will do this eye on camera. But anyway, these metallics are working just as beautifully as the ones that I used when I tried out Sydney Grace for the first time. So my expectations were set super high, and it's not disappointing at all. Super beautiful. So now I'm going to take the Web shade and I'm going to apply that on the inner part of my eye. It's just a slightly lighter shade. This one has more of a satin finish rather than metallic, but still very beautiful. Next, I'm taking the shade Scarab, which I believe is the only one that she said was already existing to the Sydney Grace line. And it's one of those duochromes like the MAC Blue Brown Pigment. It's very beautiful, but in this palette it's called Scarab. I believe in the Sydney Grace line it has another name. And I'm just going to blend that in towards the center where I had the Fire Butts shade. Another super beautiful metallic that does not disappoint. This one has a duochrome shift. I don't know if you're catching it because of the placement, but it is super beautiful. I'm going to do some wing liner with my Benefit Roller Liner. This liner really just doesn't get enough love in my opinion. I think it's so great and it applies so well over, you know, layers of metallic shadow. I think it's incredible. I really love it. Another thing I love so much is that even though, you know, I'm taking my time doing this wing, the felt tip is not drying out at all. But yeah, and even in my inner corner, it doesn't bleed. It's amazing. Now, obviously, you can stop here, but I wanted to be a little extra. And so I took one of my Urban Decay glitters and I went ahead and I put that over the area where I cut my crease. This one is in the shade Studio. I was on the phone with Comcast all day this morning again for like the 10th time this month, and it was just the kind of day where you needed to put glitter all over your face, and so that's what I decided to do. You can obviously skip this step, but I wanted to do a little something extra, and I want to get use out of my makeup collection. It's not every day that I'm pulling out these glitters, so today is that day. And they're just so easy to use too. For my lashes today, I used Wonder Beauty Unlashed, and I did wear falsies today. I'm wearing ones by Stilazzi. These are the Cosmo collection in the style Wispit. This is what they look like. I think these are amazing false lashes. They're so easy to use and the band is really thin. These are not necessarily a 100% invisible band, but I don't think you need to wear liner to disguise these lashes. I love them so much. Super easy to put on. You can see I cut off a piece, just a little bit because my eyes are smaller. So I'm gonna finish that, do my face, and we'll be back to do the lower lash line. I was getting so relaxed doing my makeup that I forgot I was filming, and so I put just a teensy bit of shadow there, but this is Spider on a Sephora Pro Blending number 27, and I'm just applying that along the lower lashes and blending it into the wing. Then I'm taking Web on a Smith 253, and I'm going to intensify the inner corner and drag it on the lower lash line just a little bit. I also did apply this on the brow arch and just gave it a blend to kind of diffuse that out with the brush that I had Jewel Bee on there, but I didn't pick up any additional product. Then the last step was a Zoeva 231 and the shade Love Bug on the lower lash line, more on the inner portion to connect the inner corner to the tail. But then I also used this shade to blend out the lower lash line and just bring it down a little bit. And once that's there, I do take a little bit more Spider and stamp it right along the outer corner. On my waterline, I'm using this Tarte pencil that I've had forever, and I'm so excited that it isn't dried out. It is in the shade On Fleek, and it's just slightly purple to just highlight the fact that I'm wearing a colorful eye look. I'm not even sure if they make these anymore, that's how old it is, but it's working just fine. It's probably one of those things that they sell exclusively on the Tarte website. Now I'm applying a little bit of mascara to the lower lashes, and this is our finished look. As usually when I start, I'm like, wow, I did overkill. And even though it looks intense this close up, you're gonna see when I step back and just talk about the palette and everything that it's really not that much. I mean, the glitter is a bit much, but Comcast. So yeah, I'm gonna fix my hair and eat some dinner, and I will come back and share my final thoughts on the palette. I hope you enjoyed seeing my little demo of how I created this eye look. I had so much fun creating it. I've had a really stressful week at work, and it was just really calm to sit down and play with makeup and share my thoughts with you on how the shades were performing. I'm really happy with how the eye look turned out, and I definitely know I can get something more neutral for work as well. So very versatile palette. Again, I have to say a big congratulations to Mel Thompson and Sydney Grace as well for this lovely collaboration. I didn't comment on the packaging before, but the packaging was actually custom drawn by her tattoo artist, and it was inspired by both the colors in the palettes as well as tattoos that she actually has. And it's just a tribute to her love of insects. Me personally, I don't love the creepy crawlers, but the way that they're depicted here, they're more of a cute cartoon kind of version, and so I still think that the palette is really, really cute. And it does have a tattoo-esque quality to it as well, which I think really encompasses her personality really, really nicely. I think it's really cute. It's definitely a standout in my vast collection of eyeshadow palettes back there, so congratulations again. I'm really loving it. I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, this is only my first time using it, but I'm looking so forward to using it again. That's it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section down below. I hope you're doing really, really well and having a great day wherever you are. I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon on my next one. Bye-bye.